we talk about loneliness, I don't know if there's any worse kind of loneliness of being in the middle of the crowd, but no one knows who you really are.
Whatever I was going to do in my life, I was going to have to do it myself. Nobody was going to help me.
Yeah.
I had zero guidance on anything.
Back in those days, you would have created these stories that normalized all of that you're only unpacking now that you're more self-aware and looking back and reflecting.
Hi, and welcome to the Living Richly podcast. We're so glad you have joined us this week for a really important conversation of what it's like to hit rock bottom and rebuild your life from scratch. And we're really pleased to have in studio dear friend and returning guest, Julian White. Great to have you here, brother.
Hey, Eric, Rob. So great to be here. Thank you.
We've had the opportunity to get to know each other through the Foundry. You're a fellow business leader we do work together with out there, and you're here to tell your story today. And we're so glad and honored by your courage and willingness to step out there. I know you had the opportunity to do that not long ago for the first time at another event recently.
Yeah, I did. And I mean, it's kind of funny that I'm here, really, because there was a time when I could never imagine doing anything like this. And, you know, even speaking about some of these things, I would never, it was just, 9 months ago, I pretty much hadn't told a soul about a lot of this stuff. So definitely, it took me a while to start talking about some of these things. Even though it's things I've been working on for quite a while, you know.
Before you get into telling the story, because it's interesting as you say that, we talk about it often, what it does for us when we finally find the voice to be able to share our story. What has it been like for you since you've begun to be more open with sharing your story? What's that done for you?
I mean, it's been liberating, I guess. It has been liberating. It's been powerful because I've just some of the conversations I've had as well have kind of sparked other conversations from other guys for sure. Yeah. So I've had a lot of conversations over the last months,
right?
Last 9 months about lots of different things. So it's actually been really great.
Yeah, and a little bit of background on you. Of course, you are a dad. You're a husband, you're a business owner, you've got multiple business ventures going on. Many of them specialize in the world of AI. And we got to know each other through the Foundry, and you're now the leader of Foundry Brockville. So when you talk about just 9 months ago, sharing your story for the first time, and now you're providing a space for men to do the very same thing. So again, I'm so excited to have you here and to dive in your story with you. Let me throw you an easy question first.
Okay.
Never easy.
We always are easy.
Lovely. Thank you.
And when we say that, it's because it's not, okay? Because it's not. When you look at your life today, what would most people be shocked to find out you had to fight through to get here?
Well, a few weeks ago, I met up with a young guy for a coffee that had reached out to me. He just wanted to pick my brain, business and stuff. And he's a young guy, 20s. And so he said, well, I took a look at your LinkedIn, said, well, these different things you've done. And so I talked about some of the startups and just some of the different experiences I'd had in business and kind of when I moved to Brockville, stuff like this. And he just looked at me and he just said, wow, like, that's amazing. You're just doing it, eh? You're just doing it, eh? That's what he said. and I kind of looked at him and but I think there's a lot that that I didn't bring up in that conversation. What I really wanted to say, which I'll save for the second coffee. But it was like, well, actually, it's been quite the road. Couple of failed marriages, burnout. I don't even know how many times. Struggled with, anxiety, stress, addiction. I mean, it's been a ride.
It's been a journey for sure.
Yeah.
And again, it's amazing what people see on the surface. And it's the very message of why we started the Foundry in the first place, is that there's so many guys that are successful on paper and people would look at and say, hey, you're really doing it. Yeah. But beneath the surface, there's a lot more going on that often never comes to light. And then guys carry the thing alone. Why don't you, let's dive into your story a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're comfortable talking about sort of where you've come from?
Yeah, well, I was born in England.
Yeah, duh.
We just thought you had this fancy accent because everybody likes a British accent.
Just in case you thought I was Australian.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I came to Canada 26 years ago, but born in England. My dad left when I was around 6 years old. He left to join a church called the Solar Quest. Today we would definitely say that was a cult because he was kind of encouraged to, leave his family, kind of just go off and give everything over to this church. So I grew up with my mom, my brother. So my mom was a single parent family. My grandmother as well was a big part of my life. So she was with us a lot. Definitely a big influence on my life. But I had no male influence, role model, anything like that. It was a lot of, feminine energy.
Yeah.
So, growing up was a challenge, and I was, in an extremely rough school, and that was, it was every day I kind of hated it in my childhood, just hated being at the school, bullying. It was basically, I couldn't feel safe, any day. It was just.
So not safe at home, not safe at school.
I mean, I always felt safe at home. My mom always provided. We had the basics.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was the basics. But yeah, it was not a happy childhood. One other thing as well, my mom remarried, so we kind of moved away from my family. That didn't work out, and then we were kind of left 4 hours away from my hometown, the rest of my family. So we were very isolated, I think, for 7 years.
And you would have been how old around that period?
I was 13 when we moved back.
Okay.
So my dad died around 6, and then we moved. My mum remarried. And that was also kind of a tough thing because my stepdad, he really liked my brother, but he didn't like me for some reason. So that was kind of hard to deal with.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And
being a teenager is hard enough, but that's a lot of check marks, right? That don't make for a very stable, solid upbringing.
Yeah, it was tough, and the school was tough. And when we eventually moved back to our hometown when I was around 13, and it was a good school, and that was kind of the first time where I kind of developed some really good friendships and even just kind of felt safe at school.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Because you and I have a bit of a similar story there with not having my dad was gone when I was quite young as well, and no male figure until I was in my teens. You used language there a second ago, and again, I haven't heard your story because you mentioned about how your dad went off, but when you responded there, you said my dad died. When you were that age, and is that how you saw that? As your dad gone, was he?
No, sorry.
Did he come back? Was he back in your life at any point?
No. Actually, so yeah, he left, joined this church when I was 6, and then he died when I was 8.
Oh, wow!
And I never saw him again.
Okay.
I never saw him again. And I have no memory whatsoever of my dad.
Jeez.
Wow.
And he was around till I was about 6, I think. But I have zero memory.
Wow.
Zero memory.
And if that had happened when you were much younger, that's understandable. But older,
and I only just kind of realized that recently when I started doing the math on the dates, and I thought that's really bizarre because I always just used to think, well, he left when I was really young.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I was young, but
old enough to remember some things.
My oldest son is 5 years old, and I'm pretty sure if I died today, he would remember me. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. We talked about it. What was it? The last show we were on. You were on with Chris Dore, and we were talking about AI, and we talked about creating an AI twin and how he thought it was such a great idea. And I said, well, somebody said, well, no, now your kid could also ignore the AI version of you.
Yeah.
So tricky for sure.
Yeah.
So growing up, I'm curious. What felt normal then that you've come to see very differently now? Because it's often not until much later that we recognize the impact of some of those early first family sort of.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I realized I didn't have a dad, but I just kind of normalized it, I guess. And the stress I was under. even at school, I just thought that was kind of normal, you know. And it was only when I was older and I look back and I thought, wow, that was actually, you know, my childhood during those school years was actually, you know, extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, one quick example. There was a boy there in my year who one night got attacked by skinheads and cut up with pieces of glass. So everybody was horrified. And then a week later, we found out, no, he'd actually done that to himself because he didn't want to go to this school.
Wow.
He did that to himself to try and go to another school. So it was bad.
But like you say, you almost back in those days, you would have created these stories that normalized all of that. That you're only unpacking now that you're more self-aware and looking back and reflecting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you've talked about how you've got entire portions of your childhood that.
No, well, pretty much all of my childhood, I have almost no memories of, and very much like you, like I met my dad for the first time that I remember would have been, you know, when I was 19 years old, thereabouts. And so I have no memory of him, even though he was a part of my life. Well, he was a pretty formative part of my life because of the things that he did. And, you know, when he would break out of jail and all of the stuff that he did. But I don't have any memories of any of that, and nor do I remember some kind of things. But it's interesting, as you say, and yet if I looked at my kids at that, you know, when they were 6, 7, whatever, of course they remember. So that's part of the trauma. I think the protection that you create.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, I mean, I definitely unpacked some of that years later. The only kind of positive thing one of the positive things in that was I was kind of reclusive, I guess. I didn't go out too much with friends. I went out a bit, but I spent a lot of time getting to understand computers. Right, home computers were just becoming a thing, so I got into programming, software development, had a passion for it, loved it. So that was really kind of great. So when I wasn't out doing stuff, I was on my computer.
When I was in grade 9, I think I had in every class, like I was a classic. I got 51. I was good. That's all I needed to get. Right. It was a pass, except for computers. I had like a 90, and it was back in the day where you'd do the programming on. For me, was it
punch cards?
Yeah, the punch cards. You'd have to create your format, and you'd send it away. And a week later, you'd get a printout. Hi, my name is Rob. And you were like, I was so amazed by that. But I was the same.
We're really dating ourselves now on the show.
Wow, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So. Well, we're going to want us to continue to unpack your story. We're kind of at that age of 13. You've now moved back. I'm curious now that when you look back on that time period, again, all the research has shown first formation, our family of origin has a way of shaping us for the rest of our lives. There's really not no other period of our life that is so influential because of our, we're so easily influenced. When you look back now, here you are 13 years old, what scripts are already beginning to form in your mind about yourself and how the world works?
I think the big one was whatever I was going to do in my life, I was going to have to do it myself. Nobody was going to help me. Like I had zero guidance on anything, you know. And I remember finishing like high school and just, you know, I told my mom, well, I'm going to go and get a job now, I guess. You know, we never even talked about like further education then. It was just like, she was like, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I went and got a job in a DIY store, like a home hardware. Yeah. Right. And, you know, did a whole bunch of different things until I was basically trying to find an opportunity with computers and software and programming. And it took me a while to land that role. It was at like my early 20s, but those years were kind of a blur, and it was just, there was no internet back then, right? Like I keep thinking as well, if I'd had the internet back then, my life would be very different.
And you didn't have AI tools to help you.
Yeah. So, you know, I used to go to libraries. Like, I'm really dating myself now, but I would go to a library and get books. So I read a lot. That was how I kind of learned. That was big for me.
You've talked about, of course, all the negative. When did that start to show up when it came to whether it was the addictions, or you've talked about failed relationships, marriages, but when did that start to show up? I'm assuming likely in your 20s you started to see some of that come about, or when was that?
I mean, I think 20s, and it was relationships was a big one. I mean, the other thing that, and I was only really kind of thinking about this morning actually, was I never wanted to be alone. So and every relationship I've had from my first till now, I don't think I've ever had a gap between relationships,
Same.
and and it wasn't just relationships. It was, if I was in a relationship and we weren't getting together that night, okay, I would work later, or I would go to the pub. I'd go and just to be around people. If I did go home by myself, I would instantly walking in, I would put the TV on, right? I just needed noise. I just never wanted to be alone. And that was, it's only something I've kind of started thinking about. I'm definitely not like that anymore. I don't get many opportunities to be alone.
Oh boy, but when I do, it's like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah. And what do you think that was like? I know for me, there was a period, I would say I could relate to so much of what you just said, the whole, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And that is, again, that's a double-edged sword. I know for me, and I'm sure for you as well, self-reliance, self-motivated, get shit done, not overly depending on others because they're not really reliable. It creates a drive that certainly earlier in our lives can act in a very positive way. For me, it had a real dark side as I got older. So it's tricky when you're navigating all of that. But the loneliness piece is a piece I'm also very, very familiar with in terms of not wanting to be alone. For me, it was I was always nervous that if I slowed down, especially as I got to my late 20s, I didn't want to be alone with myself and my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was driving I don't want to be by myself.
I think maybe that was part of it. 20s and 30s, definitely. That was definitely a part of it. But I mean, I'm still trying to kind of unpack that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back now at my 20s and I just think, it was chaotic. Relationships, it was disastrous.
Yeah.
A lot of it was just disastrous. I mean, I had, 2 divorces, a lot of other failed relationships, around that as well. And, it's so easy to look back, right, and say, well, I don't know why I did that, or what was I thinking? But I was a totally different person back then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to put a lot of work in on myself between, now and then. And so there's definitely some realizations I've had. But yeah, I don't even recognize myself, the person in my 20s, 30s even.
Yeah. It's like another lifetime ago now, right?
I mean, I often talk about I've had 2 lives, because my first marriage, I had 2 daughters, they're 27, 25. And I'm in my 3rd marriage now, very happily married, 2 little boys, 5 and 2.
Yeah.
So it's, not many people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we're all of us at the table are double divorcees, right? So we've all had 2 failed marriages. The joke is always so how does it work? Is it 3rd time's a charm, or 3 strikes you're out?
Both,
yeah.
yeah. I think it's.
I haven't experimented on the 3rd one yet, so although I'm pretty close to it. So I'm curious. You said you've had some realizations about your life and your past, and that have really shaped who you've become today. What are some of the most significant ones that you're comfortable sharing with our listeners?
I mean, one thing there was a long period in my life where I really kind of struggled with a lot of things, anxiety, but was a big one. Stress was huge.
How do you tell the difference between the two? How do they show up differently for you when you say anxiety, like tremendous?
Anxiety for me is like a low hum that is, always there. Sometimes it comes up a bit.
Yeah.
Stress is like a real kind of fight or flight thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And, I found myself when I was starting multiple businesses, I a number of failed businesses in that time as well, around my 30s, which was extremely stressful. So I ended up, self-medicating through a lot of that. Because, there was the not wanting to be alone thing was definitely powerful, but there was also my mind. My mind never shut off, and it still doesn't to a degree.
Yeah.
So it was always, I felt like I never had a break from my own thoughts. And so alcohol was this great way to, have a couple of beers. It would just take the edge off, then, have some more. And that worked fantastically. At the start,
until
it's like, this is
right?
great. Until it didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, then it becomes this whole mental obsession and it starts to take over your life. So,
how did you know when it was starting to take over? Like, cause I think all of us can relate to some form of escapism, numbing. We call it numbing, running, avoiding, right? I know when I'm I'm a social drinker. Periods of my life where things are going harder, I'm more tempted to want to lean into that more because it does help to numb.
Yeah.
But it's not out of control in my life. But you said like you started to see signs that this was becoming a problem.
Yeah. I mean, so there were bottoms, right? There's things you do that are just really bad. And you wake up in the morning, you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Right. And it's a huge amount of shame. You feel terrible about it and you don't make any change. Right. And that's like, oh, okay, well, last night was really bad. Like, there's still things I think about now that happened 20 years ago. And I'm just, it makes me sick to think about it. So when you don't do anything and then the turning point, I think, is when you wake up in the morning and you're just like, okay, well, what am I going to drink today? And when am I drinking? Like, what's the plan for the day? Right. And it becomes this mental obsession that is absolutely exhausting. And I was the very definition of a high functioning alcoholic at the end there.
Right. And,
I would push meetings off in the afternoon. If somebody, tried to book a meeting with me in the afternoon or something come up, I would be mad. It would be just like, this is interfering with my drinking time in the afternoon, which is when I would still work, but I would like unwind. That was like my time because, I want to protect my sleep. So I try not to drink too much in the evenings. I would drink in the day.
You were being health conscious.
Yes. Because I'm looking after myself, right? Yeah, so the mental gymnastics was absolutely draining because there was a long time where I knew I was drinking too much, knew I needed to pull back, had a young family, and I kept trying. And there's all these things you try. Okay, well, I'm only going to drink Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All these different rules, or 2 a day, or whatever. All these different rules. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's draining. I was totally exhausted by it, and the worst thing is every time you slip up, which is like pretty much all the time, you just feel like a failure. It's like, you just feel like first thing in the morning, you feel like an idiot. And then you're just, well, I can have a good day today. And the whole morning I could be strong. And then the afternoon would just be crumble again.
Did COVID, because for a lot of folks, COVID, many folks, they talk about the loneliness. Well, that skyrocketed because now you were isolated from a lot of folks, right? You couldn't go out, you couldn't connect with a lot of people. So that, and what is it, the LCBO, when they, and right across Canada, actually, and I think it's true in most countries, alcohol consumption went up significantly during COVID. I know for me it did. And sometimes it was just past the time because you were just bored out of your mind, right?
Yeah.
What impact, if any, did COVID have on your story, your journey?
I mean, COVID was actually a kind of a great time for me because we had a baby And we had just moved we were downtown Toronto in a small apartment, like right downtown. And we had just moved to Barrie into a nice house, like in the country. We had woods right off our front door, like trails. Like it was the perfect place to see out a pandemic. Like, it was, and then we had a baby and it's like, well, this is awesome. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot, we definitely probably drank more and, but there was a part for me that was all my stuff was kind of online, so I wasn't going to do in-person meetings anymore, which was kind of great. Didn't mess with my drinking, which was nice.
Right.
But I definitely did feel isolated. I mean, and I think one of the hardest things in COVID was when they shut the shops down. The malls closed, and you couldn't just go and walk and be around people.
Right.
And I never. I mean, it sounds pretty obvious from what I just said, 10 minutes ago, but it was, not being able to be around just strangers, people in a mall was really tough.
Yeah.
You're the one holding your business together, but what if your business is actually holding you hostage? At Rhapsody Strategies, we help business leaders just like you stop spinning their wheels, start building real systems and strong teams and lives they actually love. High performance without the burnout. That's the game you want to play. If you're ready, go to rhapsodystrategies.com and let's get started.
Of course, the two of you with the passion of launching the Foundry, and now you're leading with the Foundry in Brockville, recognize the value and the importance of community, especially for men. When you were going through all of this, was there anyone that you were sharing that with, or was there that, because you even talked about how much you wanted to be around people, but were you opening up and sharing some of the things that you were dealing with, or was this all being internalized and kept kind of the way a lot of guys do function with this?
I was definitely holding most of it inside. Not talking about a lot of it. My wife knew about some of it.
Hard to hide from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the drinking, I mean, we had so many conversations about drinking, it's like, it got tedious at the end. And that's kind of part of the exhaustion and just, the draining effect of the mental side of it.
But I mean, that's the earlier story. I mean, you've now been sober. This episode will air July or August this year,
August,
because we're recording this way ahead of time, as we always do. So you'll have been sober.
Be over a year and a half.
And talk to us briefly about what that process was like. What led you to make that change? What support did you get? And how different is your life now on the other side? Yeah.
So I had tried many times to quit. I had small periods of, sobriety. I'd always done it by myself. And, I'd heard about AA, but, I looked at the 12 steps and I always had a problem with step 1. I'm admitting I'm powerless. It's like, well, that's not me, right?
Yeah. High performers always have a hard time with that. What do you mean I'm powerless?
Yeah. I'm like, no, if I want to do this, I can do it myself. So it turns out I wasn't very good at doing it myself. And it was, it wasn't really kind of there'd been many rock bottoms along the way, but this wasn't really a rock bottom. It was just it was a day like any other day, but it was a day where I was, saying, hey, I'm not going to drink today. And, I had a bunch of drinks with dinner. I woke up in the morning and said, enough. I just can't do this anymore. And I went to an AA meetup that day, that lunchtime. And it was massive. I mean, it was a big step, like walking in there.
Like I just imagine, how much courage did that require? How nervous were you walking into that room?
I was pretty nervous. It was, I don't know. It was kind of surreal. And it was, the group is a lot bigger now, but at the time, the day I went there was 3 people.
Oh, shit.
It was 3 people.
Oh.
And I walked into
hiding in the crowd.
No, and there's like this big room and there's 3 people, and I'm just like, is this where the 12 o'clock meeting is?
Where's everybody else?
Yeah, so they we talked, and there was a woman in the group, and she said the same thing to me 4 times during that meeting. She just looked at me. She said, "You're in the right place," and it just really resonated with me, and I thought, yeah, I've got to try this out. You know, I've got to give it a go. And so I've been going ever since.
Wow. And again, a year and a half. What have been the most significant factors, do you think, in terms of not just your sobriety? I mean, that's massive.
Mm-hmm.
What else has shifted for you since you found sobriety?
Honestly, everything shifted.
Yeah.
Like everything got better for me.
Yeah.
You know, everything, relationships, mentally, everything. I mean, I didn't have the shame, didn't have the guilt. I had some energy back. My sleep was better. My health was better. Everything was better. There was no negative, you know, which is amazing, because there was a time when I couldn't imagine like never not having a drink, right? That the thought of just saying I'm never going to drink again for the rest of my life was just, no, there's no way I could do that. And right now I feel completely the opposite. I could never see me picking up a drink.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not careful and I'm on guard, but right now I have absolutely no desire.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Amazing. I mean, we talk about one of the things that really can erode a man's self-confidence is when we break promises to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So we make promises that we're going to get healthier, and we don't. Yeah. We make promises to ourselves that we're going to curb the drinking or give it up altogether, and we don't. We make a promise to ourselves we want to be more present with our family, and we don't. Right. And we end up kind of falling into this pattern of promise, fail, reset. Promise, fail, reset.
Well, it's probably promise, fail, shame.
Yes.
Reset.
Thank you. I was missing. I knew as soon as I was saying, like, it's missing a big step there. But that shame piece is huge.
Yeah.
And and shame, again, we talk a lot about. I'm curious, like for you, what the silent cost you paid for not opening up before then, because this sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, the first time in AA you're required to share. It's kind of the experiences around that. So this is likely your first experience with that. But shame is often in the secret. We're the only one. I'm the only one that's struggling like this. And when you open up to a group of other people in a safe environment, what you discover is you're not the only one, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's really interesting, because I think a lot of people that go into AA for the first time, and I certainly felt like this. You look at people and you're like, well, I'm not like him, I'm not like her, you know, I'm not like these people, right? But the further you go down the road, the more you realize, oh, actually, I'm a bit like him. I'm a lot like her. Everybody has kind of a lot of similarities. You know, and it's the same kind of problems, like mental problems, I think people are dealing with. And you know, the big thing for me was acceptance. Right, that was the really big thing for me.
What did that look like for you? We talk about, we just recorded another episode earlier today about the power of acceptance, and that anyone's healing journey, accepting yourself and continuing to accept yourself more and more over time is kind of fundamental to healing. How did your view of yourself shift? And what does self-acceptance look like for you?
Well, I mean, I had to accept my past. That was the big thing. And you know, there's still a lot of shame there, still a lot of things I feel bad about. But I had to kind of just accept that. You know, I had to accept that I couldn't control my drinking, you know, which I'd fought with for so long. And I had to accept that, you know, I just couldn't drink like another person. So I can't have another drink again. That's what I need to do. And once I accepted that, it did get a lot easier.
Yeah. Wow.
It's interesting when you talked about not seeing yourself like the others, thinking, oh, I'm not them or I'm not that, which is often, if we were to make the shift here to talk specifically men and men in leadership, how often that's the case, where we struggle alone because we think we're alone. But in those early days, until you get that perspective and start to lean in and learn and hear other people's stories, we do tend to have almost the judgment of, well, I'm not that person, or I'm not that bad, or I don't do right. Like,
I'm not as fucked up as
I'm not as fucked up as this guy, right? Like, but there is that sense of almost creating a false narrative to keep you from becoming vulnerable in a community, especially a community of guys.
Yeah, and I think my brain still tries to kind of derail me a bit. And it questions even now. If I go to an AA meeting, my brain started to question me. Well, do I need this anymore?
Right.
I think I'm okay now. Right. It's like I don't. So it's I have to kind of be on guard a lot, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think talking about it is huge, because I didn't talk to anybody about it. When I first went to AA, I told my wife that day, and she was very upset, and, we used to love drinking together as well, so it was, for her, it was like, what does this mean for me as well? Obviously. Right.
Yeah.
And there was that part of our relationship that was now over. And that's, I think that was hard for both of us to deal with, because from day one, that's what we used to do. We used to get together, we'd go for drinks, and,
how powerful were the forces, though, going on inside of you? You said you went from one relationship to another. You didn't like being by yourself. Walk into the house, turn the TV on because I don't even want the sound of silence. And you make a decision on your own to go to AA, give up drinking, knowing that this is a significant part of your relationship with your significant other. Like, what the hell was going on under the hood for you? Was it just that level? I'm desperate to change this. How much courage? I just can't. Like, that was not a small choice.
No.
Massive choice just to do it. But with the relationship piece you just said, a lot of folks would have avoided making that decision.
Yeah, and it was definitely something I thought about a lot, because I knew it was going to put some pressure on my relationship. But I mean, my wife has been extremely supportive.
Yeah.
She did sober September last year, and she hasn't had a drink since as well.
Wow.
So
wow.
Like, she's doing great. She's seen a lot of benefits as well. But yeah, at the time it was a big risk, because I didn't know. I thought we would be okay. We had times where we'd stop drinking for a while, and we were, and we go out together, and, we still have a good time, and we can laugh. And used to think, well, you need to have some drinks inside you to be able to laugh. And we don't, we can still have a laugh.
Yeah. Still have a good time. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about, like, again, so hear your story, your kind of first experience with opening up about things you've never really talked about openly, being with AA as part of your sobriety journey. Not long ago, 9 months ago, it was about that. I volunteered you for
good at that
to share your story, and I remember I didn't realize it was the first time you'd be sharing it publicly, and I think I found out 5 minutes before you were about to give it, and you did a phenomenal job. And now here you find yourself part of the Foundry, leading a chapter in Brockville. Talk to us about the appeal for the Foundry for you, what attracted you to it, what motivated you to come. Because for our listeners, like, Julian comes, like, hardly ever misses, almost since day one.
Yeah, over an hour
and
drive.
You're an hour drive to the city from Brockville, an hour drive home. So you're driving 2 hours just to come in for a 2-hour dinner monthly, and now you've launched a group. So I'm curious. I think I know some of this story, but I'm sure I'm going to find out more. What was it that resonated at that point in your life that you said, I got to go check this out?
Okay, so before I talk about the Foundry, I just want to touch on the event that you volunteered me for.
Oh, I thought I could get away with that one.
So yeah, the Dare to Be Vulnerable event. It was Susan Blaine.
Yeah.
You introduced. She called me. And I was thinking, I don't want to do this. Getting up and talking in front of a room of over 100 people about this. I do not want to do this. And I was driving. I talked to Susan, and she gave me the date. and it was 6th of November, and that day is very special because it was like, okay, if I get to 6th of November, I'm actually 1 year sober, like on that day.
Yeah.
And I just thought that has to be, it's a message from somewhere.
Yep.
So, and I said to her, yeah, I got to do this. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it was.
I remember you sharing that with me, but I'd forgotten that part.
Yeah. So it was actually that night, getting through that night, that got me to a year, which was amazing. So.
Yeah. And what did how did your wife feel about you sharing your story like that?
She thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
She thought it was great.
Yeah.
She's been very supportive.
Yeah. That's what you said from day one.
So what drew you to Foundry?
Yeah. So at the time, like, I think I'd been in AA for about 9 months, and I hadn't talked to anybody about it. My wife knew. That was about it. And a lot of the things I'd been kind of working on, I knew there was some things I needed to talk about, but there's things as a guy you don't really want to talk to with your wife because you don't want to add pressure. You don't want to, increase her stress. So, I was finding a need that I really need to talk to somebody, right? And I think we had connected on LinkedIn. Then I saw, okay, I'll go and try this out. And I went out that night. It was in Canada.
Yeah.
And so, met you for the first time in person. Met you too, Rob.
Yeah.
Talking to everyone, and it was.
You had a chip too, because I remember you showed me and you were telling me about it.
So that day I had got my 9-month sobriety chip, and so I shared that with everybody, at the table, and I just remember everybody was so positive, supportive, and it was just like just like a bit of a release, and it was kind of a relief. It's like, oh, I can actually talk about this, and people aren't freaked out by it, or it's a safe space, and and I thought, I need this. So I came out that night, and I was super happy on the drive home, and I just thought, oh, okay, I got something that I need. This is really great. I did have some challenges talking to my wife about it initially, because she's like, where did you go last night again? I said, well, it's this meetup. It's guys only. She's like, what?
Yeah.
so I eventually kind of explained what it was about.
That's why we always take a picture so that we can post the picture. You can
show
your wife. See, it really was a bunch of guys, and it wasn't a club.
The amount of times I've heard guys share that, though, to say, like, when they're sharing with their spouse, they're like, the common response is, "You're going to where to do what? You're going to hang out with a bunch of guys to talk about, like,
feelings?"
Life and feelings?
Well, two new guys that came out in the last Brockville meetup, they both said the same thing. They said, well, my wife said you're going to be selling us something by the end of the night.
There's got to be some kind of catch,
there's something here.
Yeah, I love that. And you kept coming back.
Yeah.
Now, at the surface, I mean, anyone looking at your life and your professional self, right? No doubt, well-connected, good, strong network. It's amazing how guys, most guys that I know in leadership and in business, can be so well-connected and yet so alone. So good at building a professional network, but hiding. For all kinds of reasons, and not really no one in their life who really knows what's going on. And when we talk about loneliness, I don't know if there's any worse kind of loneliness of being in the middle of the crowd, but no one knows who you really are. What was I don't know how that resonates with you.
Yeah, I mean, So I used to do a lot of networking as an entrepreneur as well. It's about, a lot of it is about networking, building that network, but it's all business.
Yeah.
Friends in business, right?
Yeah.
So they're guys you could go breakfast with, but they're not anybody that you're going to talk to about any serious stuff, right?
Right.
Especially if they're a client, right? It's like,
Yeah.
What? Right. So I think a lot of my effort, and I think I see this a lot as well. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs put their effort into building their network, but they have no plan, no effort in their actual friendship circle, right? And that's definitely something where I was because I came from England, so I kind of had to start from scratch. Didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Right. But all the relationships I was creating were business relationships, pretty much. There were no really great friendships, and then the good friends you had from years ago, you kind of tend to drift apart. Some divorces take some of the friends as well.
Yeah.
And so you can end up just thinking, well, I don't have many friends,
Well, and I think it's true. I mean, we know this for all the stats tell us, and we know that men in their 40s and 50s and 60s are typically very alone, that they haven't built those relationships. And that's just men in general. When you add to that layer, the entrepreneur, the leader,
the founder,
and it's interesting because that's what you, as you're just pointing out there, you go to all these networking, like you're, it's not that you're not interacting, but there's an objective to it. There's a purpose to it. And so there's an outcome for it. And so you connect to those other men or people because they might be potential clients. They might be able to introduce you to somebody, but there's something you're looking for from it, and you're not thinking on the personal side. So it's almost a double-edged sword for male entrepreneurs to find and build those relationships, because everything we're going there with a purpose of building our network.
Yeah, and that's awful. Going to an event where you're like, well, my goal here is to get 10 people to take my card and agree to have a call.
And,
like I hate it. I hate it. Like it's awful. And I mean, I've gone to some networking things where I have paid money to go there, and I walk in and I'll do a lap of the room, and after 10 minutes I'm just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'll just leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Whereas I think if you build genuine relationships, like I've done business with people in the Foundry.
Yes.
Right. And that's just, it's kind of like,
but it's a natural.
it's just helping people. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can help you with that. You know?
But you would see it if a guy comes to the Foundry meeting and their sole objective is business. It doesn't take long.
No,
before
it's like one of these things is not like the others.
And
that's what I try to explain to people. I'm like, it's when I try to explain it, when I launched it, I was very honest with you. One of my primary reasons for launching it is I was the stat. Successful on paper, certainly doing way better personally over the last few years because of all the work that I've done, and really grateful for that, and in a great relationship, in a great business that I love. But I'm like, I look around and I got one and a great friend. You and I have been friends for a long time, but I'm like, my social network is non-existent outside of business. And I thought, I'm going to launch this thing. I'm really passionate about helping others. But I said, at the end of the day, if it completely flops and all that happens is I make three or four friends,
awesome.
like really good investment of time and energy. And that's happened and much more. You're one of those people that really connected with over the last year. Tell me how you feel being part and connected to a group of guys like that. Because it's not about the Foundry. It's about really finding a community and being deliberate. The Foundries just exists for that purpose and to facilitate that. But how has that helped you? Like where being connected, making those friendships, and then I want to talk about what inspired you to take an even much bigger step and come to me one day and say, I think we need to start a chapter in Brockville.
Yeah. So, I mean, the friendships that I've made, in the group have been like fantastic. And like you, like if I got nothing else out of this would have been
a win.
Great. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But knowing that there's a support system there, right? So there's a whole bunch of guys on a WhatsApp group that we could just, message. Like if I've got a real problem one day, I can put a message in there and I know right away people are going to be responding. It's going to be supportive. Yeah. There's going to be good advice. That's huge because most people don't have that.
Yeah.
Right. That's just really, it's huge for me. And, I'm not very active in that group, but I read every message.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's times where but I will definitely use it more than others, but that's what it's there for. Right. So people chime in when they need to, but it's also okay. Like we say to everybody, it's okay to just go in there and just listen. Right?
Yep. Yeah, how often have we told folks whether it's the monthly gatherings, the in-person gatherings that we have both in Ottawa and Brockville now, or the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp community, it's not meant to be another thing that you feel a pressure to do and perform. Yeah. It's a supportive community that you can tap in as needed. For the first time today since it started, because I still have this leader thing, right? Like this overperforming need to hold everybody up, and I'm there to take care of everyone else, often at my own expense. And for the first time ever this morning, I posted in there saying, hey guys, I don't often do this, but I'm carrying a lot right now. And I was just in one of those seasons, not a crisis, just a heavy load season. And to be able to go, not my norm, that was actually huge for me, and feeling a lot of pressure because I think I started this thing. And now I'm kind of the group going, I could use a bit of encouragement. I'm just in one of those moments right now. Yeah. And so that took some courage on my part, but wasn't easy to do. But the words of encouragement and the messages of support that came, I tell you, I would have powered through today one way or another. I would much rather do it the way I did today, was to just admit, hey, I'm not doing great right now, and I could use some brothers just to give me a shot in the arm, and tell me I'm going to be okay, and that's exactly what happened, right? So it's a powerful, powerful place for guys to find that.
Absolutely, and I saw that message. I saw it later, because I was in meetings, and I had to do a quick double take on who had posted that. I was like, oh wow, okay. So and I saw a lot of the messages, and I just thought, oh, that's great. I'm really glad you did that. Posted that in there.
And I know for me, I saw it. I was probably saw it within 30 seconds of you putting it in there. Yeah. And my first thought was, wow, I'm so proud of you. Because I know this, like you and I have had enough conversations around it, the struggle that for you to do that and how massive that was, and then to see the response. And I did. I sat back. I didn't respond. I'm waiting.
I'm waiting to spend the whole day with the recording.
I knew I was going to be. I knew I was going to see you in half an hour. But I was just enjoying seeing and people responding from where they were with their perspective, and but it was just beautiful to see it. And I remember I was sitting there as I saw the responses coming in. I was thinking, the in-person gatherings are powerful. There's something about that WhatsApp group has taken this thing to a different level. I don't know if it's the safety, just as people, the keyboard warrior in the negative, the safety of being able to communicate and share how you're feeling. That has opened the door for so many people. And absolutely. The leader goes first, right? You went first there. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more people raising their hands saying, hey guys, I need help today, because you did that.
Well, I hope, again, it's sort of like this podcast, right? Called Living Richly, and where we share our journeys. We shared earlier today, I said, we never want people to think we've got all the answers. For Christ's sake, we don't. We're still figuring this out as we go. Foundry's the same. But it's interesting, whenever you're leading something, it's much harder to be vulnerable in that environment. And I'm a very good curator of my vulnerability. I am pretty vulnerable on this show, but I can manage that. But now we're talking friends that I've made, relationships that I've formed, and now it's like, oh shit, now, right? That's a trickier thing. But I think, again, when we are willing to just put down the mask, drop the bravado, stop pretending like we got it all together, because none of us do. We're, some more than others, but we all have our moments of weakness, and where we're feeling the heaviness of life, and to have a space again where you can know that you can just be yourself, and you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be looked down upon, and also form business relationships. It's kind of like the best version of networking.
We've said before, it's networking that doesn't suck.
That's our new tagline. we need to kind of bring this. We could talk forever, but I just got really present to the amount of time, and so I kind of want to land this. But Julian, I'm curious. So, a guy listening, obviously, if they're interested in the Foundry, they can find us at foundryformen.com online. We'll put that on the screen and in notes where they can check us out. And we always encourage folks, just go check it out. You can sign up for a great mailing list. There's lots of great supportive messaging for men there that will make you think.
And not too many.
Not too many, but it's regular. You'll get a bit more at the beginning.
It's consistent
to kind of get a sense of what this is all about, and then it keeps you up to date on whatever events we've got going on. There's the WhatsApp community that is not on our website. You have to reach out to us through the website to get access to that. But we say, come check it out. Check out an event. Check out the group. Lurk for as long as you like, right? And then jump in when it makes sense for you. For someone who's never opened up, who has their own version of your story, I'm curious, what words of wisdom would you leave them with today? If you were able to, if they were sitting on this side of the table, what message would you really want them to hear out of your story?
Even if you're not ready to open up and start talking about things yet, just maybe get around people that are, right? And so the whole lurking thing we talked about, like we joke about that, but I think it's powerful because, and I'll give you an example. Like, so the Brockville group, we've had 2 meetings so far. I've had a lot of guys reaching out to me, messaging me one-on-one, just about challenges they're having. Half of those people have not come out to a meetup yet,
right?
And so I'm still kind of message them. So I mean, I would encourage people like that to just come out. You don't have to chat about anything. You don't have to share, but just come out and listen. And it's also interesting because there's a pattern. Like, get together, have dinner, everybody's chatting about normal kind of regular stuff. But it's then when everything starts to wind down, that's when people start to kind of open up and they're like, oh, I've been around these guys now for a bit. I'm starting to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's, and the last meetup, we kind of stayed late, and there was all the new guys stayed late and started talking about, different challenges they were having. So like it's powerful. Come out. Even if it's not the Foundry, go somewhere, just be a part of some group where you can, just listen, even if you're not ready to share. But sharing is powerful. And I think once you do, you'll feel like that weight on your shoulders will just kind of lighten a little bit. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Julian. This is, I just feel we could talk all afternoon here. Where can folks find you online? Tell us a little bit about your business and where we can find you online if people want to look you up further.
Yeah, so my business is called Zentia. So website zentia.ai. We do basically AI consulting, audits, things like that. You can find me on LinkedIn. So I'm mainly on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out.
That's awesome. Thanks again for being here. And thank you for listening in. I hope you've really enjoyed hearing Julian's story. Like so many other men, successful on paper, but was struggling on other fronts, but has really turned his life around. And I know that a lot of folks watching the show will be inspired by the story. If something really resonated with you, then we ask you to like, share, subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website, livingrichly.me, where you can find all kinds of great resources, including episode notes and a link to our Facebook group, the Living Richly Nation. But for the men that are out there watching, especially if you're a man in leadership or business, we really want to point you to the Foundry, foundryformen.com. That's Foundry, the number 4 men.com, where you can find out more. Check it out. We'd love to welcome you to the community. You're never as alone as you think you are. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, get out there and live your best life.